Hi, I'm Christina Myers, host of The Stina Life. In this episode, we're going to dive into what we have in store for February with the astrology forecast and how each of us can step into our own unique blueprint at this time to help ourselves and each other as we continue to shift into our multidimensionality. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast this week, and happy February to everyone. How is everyone doing, and how are you feeling now that we have moved into a new month and have a whole new energy around us? It seems like we have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride the past few weeks, and a lot of shifts are going on energetically for sure. And I'm going to dig into that on this episode, as well as talk about what do we have in store for February? What is the February forecast? What's the astrology doing? And what you could potentially expect to feel and see in this coming month. So it should be a fun month as we are starting to get a lot more momentum right now. We are fully in Aquarius season, which is a nice energy to be in after we have been in so much heaviness within the Capricorn season. And the Aquarius season has really brought that air energy, that big push that has brought us into much more movement, much more forward thinking, much more clarity. And we also had Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, wrap up its retrograde cycle on January 27th. And so that's been great because that is leaving us completely free and clear. We have no more planets in retrograde until we hit April 1st of this year. So we have all of February, we have all of March to be able to start to feel this more momentum, to be able to push things forward, be able to implement the ideas that we have been ruminating on. And with Uranus moving forward, we should start to feel some very big shifts. We should be able to receive some major downloads and expect some unexpected surprises as well, as Uranus and Aquarius are both going to shake down the status quo. We've already seen a lot of big surprises happening on the global stage, a lot of things that have been coming through, and that is just going to increase as we move through most of February. I know for me personally, I have had so many creative ideas, a huge amount of energy coming through where I'm able to start to feel some momentum. I'm able to start implementing things that I have been ruminating on since I went into my hibernation period during the eclipse season in October and all throughout the winter season. And while we're still deep in hibernation phase, we're still deep in winter for most of us in the Northern Hemisphere. And for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, obviously you have a different energy with that summer season starting to wind down. But we're really in this phase of how do we put these ideas we have been pondering on into action? How can we start to implement these, and how can we start to move forward with it? And I know I've been in a deep creative phase right now where I have been really thinking long and hard, as I had mentioned a couple podcasts back, about how can I be of bigger service, more service to the collective, especially as more people start to awaken, as more people start to understand that there is more to life and this human experience than just being in the meat suit, that there is a bigger connection to things beyond us. And so I've really been ruminating on how do I take my experiences, how do I take the information that I have learned and implement and be able to help more people. So stay tuned to this space because I've got some things in the works that are going to be rolling out very soon. It definitely has felt like we've had a lot of things that have kept us in what I would call a chokehold. And that started really under the summer months for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. And the past 6 months, has been brutal to say the least. um, in fact, what's been interesting is that I was in meditation the other day. I was doing a Kundalini set and we were in Shavasana at the very end. And my guides came in and they literally started peeling off layers of my energy field. It felt like one of those movies. I don't know if any of you have ever done theater. I was a theater major many moons ago, and we would have to paint our faces and put masks on or facial hair. And it was that feeling at the end of a show, after the performance, that you'd have to peel off the layers of the makeup or peel off the mask. And that is what it felt like. It felt like there was a full body mask and they were literally pulling it off. And I was really thinking about how symbolic that was, that it really was representing leaving behind this full version of you. You're breaking out of this old version of yourself. And that final layer was pulling off that old meat suit and letting it go. It was truly about that death and rebirth process. And it was tied really to that Leo full moon we had last week. And that Leo full moon was pushing out all of the residual energies, any last little bit that we have been holding on to back from, like, if you think back to July and August of 2023 and what was going on, so much was happening at that time. We had 7 planets in retrograde. 2 really big hitters were, in my opinion, were playing the big role, which was Chiron, the wounded warrior, and Venus, which is about our relationships. We were literally digging under the surface and having all of our shadows and all of our woundings triggered at that time. And we were, looking at every single relationship that we had and questioning those. So it's been a death and rebirth process for so many of us. And it was, bringing up our wounds and making us reevaluate our relationships in such a deep way. And many of those relationships didn't survive, as I've been talking about. And a lot of that was for a very good reason, because when we carry this old version of ourselves, we can't move forward. We have to pull off the meat suit, the old meat suit, in order for us to fully step into our higher selves, our multi-dimensional selves. Those things are trying to drop in. Our higher selves trying to drop in right now. Our multi-dimensional selves are trying to drop in right now. And if the old suit is holding all these old memories and all these old storylines and all these old relationships, it's going to be much harder for it to drop in. And I feel like that was what was really at the forefront of that Leo full moon. And I was thinking about this after I had that experience with my guides. And, we all have people come into our lives at different points of time. And we're each teachers to each other. We're here to help each other learn. We're here to help each other grow. But many times those relationships will take its course. And, when people come into your life or you come into other people's lives, you get kind of stuck on this idea about a person. We don't really think of them from the evolved version of themselves. We don't always look at them, or they don't look at us from how we've evolved. We really continue to keep them in a box and keep them confined to the version of them that we knew when we met them. And I think unless you're on parallel timelines and you are walking beside the person and can see that growth, that exponential growth in them, it's not going to be as easy to see them in a different light. And in those cases, when things like that happen, when we use our preconceived, experiences or viewpoints or lens to box someone in, that can be actually a detriment to the person who's trying to grow, because it can stunt the growth of that person. And so in those cases, I think we have to make decisions, and some really hard choices that we've all been having to make, whether we're going to continue to surround ourselves with people who look at us through the lens of their own box, their own programming, their own hurt, their own pain and suffering, Or do we break outside of the box? Do we break free from that box to go on our own way? And, everything's a cycle. It's all a lesson. It's all part of our mission. It's all part of why we came here on earth, to earth school, to be able to have these setups, to have these lessons. But it is a pivotal, I think, point that we have been under all summer. And as we continue to move into that Leo full moon, it was the last final piece, in my opinion, that needed to be cleared out so we could fully step into who we really are, our multidimensional selves, and start fresh with a new meat suit intact. We have also had so many energies coming in this last week. Have you noticed how much energies we have been having on the planet? What I've been noticing, and some of my friends that I've been talking to, is very deep sleeps, like almost as though you feel that fairy dust has been sprinkled everywhere. It's like a Disney movie where they sprinkle the fairy dust and you fall asleep. That's what it feels like. Very vivid dreams. Um, just feeling out of sorts, like you're not quite here. It's been very foggy where I'm living. And that fog or that haze has been almost like a cloak of some kind. I don't know if it's helping to disguise activities going on or if it's just keeping us in that little sleepy phase, but it's been very prominent. The sun's been out though the last couple of days, and I'm so grateful for it because, man, does it shift your personality. It shifts your mood for sure when the sun is shining and the weather is warmer. There's also been a feeling of a massive amount of love energy coming in, very heart-centered energy. It's brought a lot more ease, a lot more release. The stress is melting away. In fact, my body is not holding on to all this stress. I usually have something going on in my shoulders and my neck, and that has cleared out too. And so I don't know, it's just so strange. It's just this weird feeling. And I know on Monday of this week, I woke up and there was no cars. There's no people. I had actually had a flat tire. I was driving down the road and we have so many potholes on the road because of the weather has been so bad. And I hit a pothole and I got a flat tire. And normally that would get me, maybe a little riled up, but I didn't have any feelings about it. I just laughed about it, went with the flow. It, messed up my timelines for the day and I just didn't care. I just was like, okay, this is what we're rolling with today. So that was kind of this new energy that I'm feeling. It's a lot more of just releasing, letting go. It did feel like we had a glitch in the timelines though. We had another separation of timelines. And that was very noticeable. And I don't think it's easy to ignore anymore kind of the things that are going on around us. And in fact, I feel like there's deeper splits that are happening due to these energies that are supporting where you're at in your journey. So there's different levels of consciousness, and we're all on our own path and we're all on our own role for sure. And we are ascending. There is no doubt. There is that shift that is occurring, and it's very prominent. And I think it's going to become more prominent for many of you. And if you're really aligned to your mission, if you're really aligned to your path, if you have cleared out the gunk and the karmic cycles and the storylines that you have been holding on to, it really does feel like there's a big shift of moving more into freedom and ease and going with the flow, literally going with the flow. Just nothing is really bothering you anymore. And that is what it has felt like this last week as the energies have increased. The Schumann resonance has been off the chart. I think we got over 24 hours of very heavy energies coming in. It wasn't heavy, but it was just so much upgrade energies coming in. So expect more of that for sure. And we are going to feel much more momentum and much more alignment with our purpose as we move through the month of February. So as we turn our attention to the February forecast, I will tell you Aquarius is the star of most of February. And this is going to bring a lot of brilliant insights, so many downloads, and perhaps even contact with some things we weren't expecting. For me, I have been having a lot more contact with off-planet beings. They've been around for quite some time, but they're increasing and their connections with me. And it's beautiful. I absolutely love having connections with my star family. And I believe that this is going to be much more prominent as we continue to move through the Aquarian age for not just those of us who are attuned to these higher frequencies, but to the masses as well. This is going to become more prominent. And as we move into fifth dimensional consciousness, expect all kinds of beings to be able to be seen, because as we move into a higher state of consciousness and your frequency changes, that frequency is going to align with those energies more and more and more. So Aquarius, let's talk about the archetype of Aquarius. The archetype of Aquarius is about rebellion. It's a rebellious nature. It is very much about humanitarianism, about innovation, about technology, about galactic connections, as well, as I was just talking about. This is somebody, and I can talk about this because I have a family member who is a double Aquarius, moon and sun on the 9th house with a Gemini rising. So all air, very much Aquarian energy. I can tell you about the archetype within this family member is that so brilliant, so fast in its thinking, is so much connected to wanting to help society in general, but it struggles on a personal level as far as personal interactions go about having more loving, and can be very loving on its terms, and loves to dig into subjects that they are very interested in. So we'll go very, very deep into subjects that they are interested in, but will fight you tooth and nail if you have to do something that's not part of the agenda. So doesn't want to follow the status quo, can be quite difficult and determined. But we need this energy to be able to make some major shifts and look at things in a different way from what we are just used to, and are not things that aren't working for everyone, right? So we're going to find a new way to approach it. And as we talked about, Pluto has moved into Aquarius. That happened on January 20th at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And Pluto will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years, except for a quick retrograde back into Capricorn from September to November of this year. And we have 3 more planets that will be crossing over into Aquarius as they make their way into the sign this month, for a total of 5 planets in Aquarius during the first part of February. So let's talk about some of the major astrological events that are going to happen this month. On February 5th, Mercury, the planet of thought and communication, will be moving into Aquarius. This is going to support the overall energy we have been feeling with these big ideas, these big downloads, dreams coming in. I would expect we will experience a lot more lightning bolt things to come in, big downloads, big shakeups, big shifts in consciousness as well, and perhaps even a deeper connection to your channel opening up, and connecting in more with the divine, connecting in more with guides, with light beings, being able to get more personal guidance for yourself as you are, again, navigating through your own personal journey. Collectively, I think we will see some big innovations coming out. I did see that Elon Musk has successfully implanted a chip in a human that will be able to utilize things like computers and other technology devices to assist those, like Stephen Hawking, I think was the example used, where you don't have your speech or you're not able to communicate. Of course, great intention for those who need the assistance, but you know, where this could run for humanity is going to be maybe a little questionable, because everything can have a very good intention behind it. But obviously put into the wrong hands, we have a situation that could go really in a different direction. So things like this is going to be very prominent in the next 20 years, these technology advancements. But again, it's about what's the intention behind it, and is this aligned to the highest good, or is it aligned to ego and power? So we will see what happens from that. But expect more of those type of big ideas, downloads to come in. On Friday, February 9th, we will have the new moon in Aquarius. I feel like this is going to really set the stage for the next 20 years. How are we embracing this Aquarian energy for ourselves? How are we stepping into our uniqueness, our unique blueprint, our unique DNA, and activating those gifts from our multidimensional selves to help us bring new insights to the collective, help us focus on our dreams, help us tap into the collective consciousness, and help humanity in a deeper way. So this will be a big shift that will happen as well. So set your intentions big on this new moon and think about, where can I bring innovation that no one has seen before? How can I dream really, really big? And I talked about this a couple months ago with setting intentions around the 50 million light year view. That's what my guides had told me versus the 50,000 foot view. 50 million light year view. This is the type of energy we're talking about, just out of this world energy. On Saturday, February 10th, we have the Lunar New Year in the Chinese astrology. This is the year of the wood dragon. Dragon is very powerful energy. It is really about coming in strong, and dragon energy reawakens. Its power reawakens. And for light workers, many of you work with dragon energy already. And again, as we move into these higher states of consciousness, the dragons are reemerging. They are coming back in a big way. If you listen to any of Magenta Pixie's work, she's been talking about the dragon energy and how the light holder is riding on the backs of the dragon. The dragon is really representing this transformation into a higher state of consciousness. So this is going to be a really powerful year. We are in an 8 year, as a reminder from the numerology side. And 8 is about these power pieces, these power struggles in many ways. And the dragon brings so much power and strength with it. So anyway, very interesting to see how this year plays out. On Monday, February 12th, Mars will enter Aquarius and will then be conjunct with Pluto. This should be a very powerful energy day. With the planet of action, Mars, that masculine energy, working with the planet of the underworld and what's hidden, we could expect some fireworks this day. And, Mars is pretty careless sometimes. It comes in and just takes charge and doesn't really have a plan or doesn't think about things. It can be a bit reckless. And especially under the Aquarian energy, that just moves fast and furious as well. So it'll be interesting to see if we have any big revelations, events that happen that day that could make some shakeup happen. So on Friday, February 16th, Venus is going to enter Aquarius. Now, this is, I would call this an unusual placement. So as I talked about the archetype of Aquarius, not so much tuned into the warm and fuzzies of the interpersonal relationships. even though it has this great love for humanity and the greater good, not so much at the personal level. So we may have some awkward and uncomfortable personal communications and interactions while Venus is moving through Aquarius. But the other thing that Aquarius will do with Venus is really help us to be more authentic in our relationships, kind of not beating around the bush, trying to get real clear. And also, it is encouraging you to be as authentic as possible when it comes to your love and how you express yourself in relationships. So this one's going to be fun. Then on Sunday, February 18th, we start Pisces season. Welcome to the unconscious karmic closet. uh, I love Pisces. I'm actually a Pisces sun. And Pisces generally rules the 12th house in the chart. So we are diving into the waters. We're working on straddling between heaven and earth, so between the spiritual planes and the earth plane. It's always represented by the two fish swimming in opposite directions because we are very much trying to straddle these two realities, these two dimensions. And I can tell you from personal experience, it can be challenging at times trying to keep one foot on the earth plane and one foot in the spiritual plane. But the great thing about Pisces is that it helps us to be much more in the flow of our creative centers. As we connect with the divine, as we connect with our higher selves, we're able to bring these beautiful insights and these creative sparks into the world. And that is one thing that Pisces does very well. It is very much about connecting in the vertical and then bringing those ideas into the horizontal. And as we are deepening our connection to our higher selves and our multidimensionality, this energy that we move into in the Pisces season is always beautiful in bringing that art, that music, those creative ideas to the collective. So as I talked about, the 8 year is very much about cleaning up the karmic closet. And the 12th house for Pisces rules the karmic closet. It rules the unconscious. The best way to know how you personally are going to work with the Piscean energy during the Pisces mansion phase is to understand where you have Pisces placed in your chart. If you are working with it in the first house, this is all about yourself. In the second, it's about your values and how you make money. And the third house, it is about your communications and your thoughts. And the fourth house, this is about your home and your private life. And the fifth house, this is about your creativity and how you express yourself. Sixth house is about your body and day-to-day routines. Seventh is about your relationships. The eighth house is about merging with others and sharing resources. The ninth house is about the spiritual plane, about higher education and higher thought forms. The 10th house is your career house. The 11th house is your friendships and groups and associations. And then your 12th house, of course, is the unconscious and also about your past life. So there may be times where, depending on where you're at in your journey, you may, during this season, have a lot of things coming up from the unconscious or past life pieces that need to be examined and need to be healed. And Pisces gives you a beautiful time to do that and to, think about journaling, think about painting, think about drawing, think about coloring, anything that helps you kind of ignite that creative side, that deeply feminine energy. This is a good time to leverage that energy and express yourself in some way. On Friday, February 23rd, Mercury is going to move into Pisces. Thoughts are going to get really dreamy and murky. Communication could be very difficult during this time, not super clear. Mercury is not real real crisp in Pisces. So I would just recommend during this time to be very conscious about your communications, very careful with your words, kind of sit on things before you speak because things could get very convoluted. Then on Saturday, February 24th, we have the Virgo full moon. This is going to be the opposite energy of Pisces. Virgo is all about systems. It is all about organization. It is all about healing too. It's a very intuitive sign. It's the second most intuitive sign on the chart. But it can cause a lot of havoc if it's not expressed in its highest form, if it's expressed in a lower octave. It can be very much about analysis paralysis, perfectionism, inability to get past our own rigidity, our own thought patterns, our own experiences. It can get kind of stuck on a loop of picking apart ourselves and other people, highly critical. So we are releasing any of those things because it's very difficult to go with the flow and be in a state of flow and inspiration and artistic pieces when we are very much trying to keep order and keep ourselves on a very short leash and in a very concise and precise approach to life. So this Virgo full moon is definitely about releasing those type of constructs that we have on ourselves that where we're not able to flow through life. So we have a lot going on, but it's not as I would call instrumental in collective shifts that we are going to be experiencing as we start to move into April. February and March are going to be a lot more go with the flow, a lot more calm because we're out of all the retrogrades. You're going to feel much more forward momentum, which is fantastic as we move in, finishing up Aquarius season and moving into Pisces season as we're moving into those dreamy waters. And just a reminder, we are all on our own personal journeys. We are all shifting at our own pace. And while we are getting assistance from outer forces, and we are, just know that your journey is very personal and very unique to you. I see a lot of people get caught up in these comparisons, and I see a lot of people having the emotion of envy coming up, which is you look at somebody else and you want what they have. But instead of asking them, how did you obtain that? What courses did you take or what path did you take? A lot of us, what we do is we start to attack other people. We put them down. We criticize them. We say, how dare they do this? And we get so caught up in the comparison that we have to understand that people's quote gifts or their abilities are very unique to them. We each have our own assignments. Those are completely unique to us, completely. And nobody else is going to understand that but you. There are things that I have done that literally no one else can understand. And it's okay. But we have to stop criticizing each other because we don't understand it. We don't understand what this other person is doing. But it's because it's completely unique to them. That is why they came to Earth at this time. And for light holders, so many of you have unique missions. Some of you are meant to completely work alone. Some of you are meant to work in very large groups. Some of you are going to have very specific things to deal with, say, darker energies and removing those from the planet. Others of you are very focused on grid work and trying to help raise the frequency. Many of you are just here to shine your light and to be able to, as you walk through life, be able to help raise the frequency, raise the vibration, raise the consciousness of those that you encounter every day. And you might be sitting in a corporate job, and that's okay. That's what your role is to be in the environment that you go to every day and to help hold that frequency of calm, collected consciousness. That love frequency is what you're bringing in, and you're making huge strides, even though it may not feel that sometimes. So we have to remember that we are all so unique. And if you think of yourself as a snowflake, there's only one of you. You are uniquely designed and you're completely different than anyone else. And I personally think it would be very boring to be here and to be anywhere, being incarnated anywhere where we are all exactly the same. I mean, I think this is why we're here. Most of us are here is to stop that from happening, because it could very easily go in that direction. And, we do see that in many ways. It's just the herding of the cows, and all the cows are moving in the same direction. And it's the kind of the black sheep of the family. It is the person who is here to help shift the cows to go their own way. That's our job. That's why we're here. And I know it can be lonely, and I know it can be hard and difficult, and I know it can feel overwhelming because other people don't understand that. But the more that you can fully step into your own comfortableness, releasing the expectations that others have of you, and others can, and you can have the consciousness to release others from your expectations too, right? No more projecting the lens of what we expect or what we think about somebody else, right? And we fully embrace our uniqueness. This is what's going to help continue to shift things. And we have this beautiful energy of the Aquarian season that we are fully in, and then Pisces as well, where that's our job. That's what we're here to do. We truly are here to embrace going with the flow, being in our unique blueprint, and bringing those unique gifts to the world. So please shine your light as bright as you can. Sending you lots of love and blessings. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate, review, leave a message, or share with others who may find it helpful. You can engage with me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Stina Life. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.